Hello there and welcome back to Dominion's Abridged. In the previous part, we were mainly just dancing around trying not to die, but gradually making forward progress in spots where the enemy weren't looking, essentially. We avoided any kind of decisive battle, but Yellow in particular has been cut down to size, losing about half of their territory, and we've still got opportunities to keep going with that. Here's some footage of me almost killing my slug. I mentioned in the past that I could kill my slug in order to get a new prophet, thus allowing me to claim Thrones of Ascension, and one way to do that is to cast a teleport spell. I can just throw the slug up into the air somewhere, and it will die since it can't live outside of water. So I almost did it here, but I ended up later in this turn cancelling that. So the slug is still around, we're not going to have the thrones, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Here's our situation up at the red capital. It's currently an on phase where we do have their capital under control, but we're already preparing to leave in preparation for the enemy coming back to retake it. Our constant distraction plan is going nicely, and we are gradually advancing our west coast front against red while those distractions are ongoing. Yellow is still distracted by nothing right now. Their big army is up there, too far away to stop us from taking some of their core territory next to their capital. We're on the verge of the armies from both sides meeting now. I'm going to order both of my stacks there to converge on the enemy stack in the middle. Although that ultimately didn't have the result I wanted, because while both armies are moving to the middle, their army ended up moving towards the left, which doesn't give us the battle we want. Here's a little battle against green. We've got this more minor war going on against green where I'm not committing fully to it, and nor do we have to simply because green aren't recruiting that much. I'm not really sure why, because yellow barely has any territory and they've got loads of stuff. Green seems to just be chilling a bit more, and I'm very slowly taking their territory. I've barely got enough troops to actually maintain sieges, so it's hard for us to do, but there's a nice win. We lost tons of stuff to take down one of their minor armies, the Ice Drake being the star of the show in their army as usual. Now we'll check out some battles on the yellow front. They've got a whole bunch of lions and snakes coming at us here. I think this might be the province that's the Throne of Ascension, or the province next to it. Not the main force, it's the stuff I left behind from the main force as they advanced. And this fight goes okay. The lions totally get through to our commanders though, and kill quite a few of our difficult to replace squids. Handily, the bodyguards seem to kill most of them in the end. And on the other side of the field, our stuff charged across and won the battle. But a costly win. The enemy can lose this stuff happily. For us, it's going to be hard to replace Meteorite Guard and squids so far from the coast, and we did lose loads of stuff in that fight, actually about half of our army. The enemy lost less than us, in fact, although the numbers don't mean too much when all of the units have wildly different values. Here's the big battle. This is the stack I was trying to kill, moving west into my secondary army, the smaller of the two armies I sent to fight these guys. That means we're fighting at a disadvantage compared to what I wanted, and the enemy proved to be pretty strong actually. They rout us off the field amid a complete storm of fiery attacks. We traded extremely poorly, losing almost all of the Meteorite Guard in that army, which is going to cripple it. They can only be replaced by pure trash and hybrids. That really sucks. Yellow isn't quite out of this one yet, it seems. Their armies are big and pretty strong too. So tactically speaking, we need to keep dancing around. If we actually have a decisive showdown, that might be the end for us. It might be decisive in their favour. We still have plenty of stuff in the area. The enemy's main force is coming back. All we need to do is get out of the way, so we'll move south or west this turn with the main force. I think what I did is the main block in the middle there goes west to attack the enemy's smaller army, and the other army I have west of that, which is reinforcements streaming in, is just going to stand still and hide in the castle there. That army is actually pretty decent by the looks of things, so we can still use that later. They need to defend this turn in case the enemy moves on and attacks them. We just want there to be a siege so our main force can catch up and we'll unite everything together. There's red going for their own capital once again. We'll just get out of there and make use of that distraction elsewhere. Here's the big battle then, down against yellow. We do manage to get our main force to fight the leftovers of their secondary force. So here's the kind of battle we were seeking, and it goes much better. Although we're still getting bombarded by all sorts of stuff. They have lots of fire attacks, this faction. We could react to that by trying to cast certain magics or have certain items that make us strong against fire, but that's just too much micro for me essentially. I was aware by this point in the campaign that I did have all these items I could make that could make me stronger in these situations. but I didn't want to manage all of the officers and spells and stuff, so I just don't live. I don't want our troops to survive, and I feel like we can get away without them surviving. Agartha's starting to disappear under our dominion over there. That's looking pretty good. If we continue to do nothing, victory should be ours. And the yellow stack isn't within a tile's movement of us, so that's what I like to see. We can just run away in the east, and in the west we'll have more chances to attack. We're on the verge of having our territories actually touch in the middle, a historic landmark as the two coasts are united at last, a sign of the times perhaps. But I was still quite frustrated that yellow have that 1,000 strong army standing around, because they have virtually no territory left. I was like, how are they alive? How do they have any money at this stage? Here I am checking the scores, seeking some answers, and things are looking good here. Our income's shot up, looks like we are winning. Red, though, still pretty strong. They're not going to disband their armies anytime soon. But yes, yellow has lost most of their money. It's just had less of an effect on their number of troops than I would have liked. At least things are all going in the right direction in terms of these lines. Red, not quite so, but if we finish off yellow, we'll have more resources to throw against red, of course. We've got good news in the next turn. It happened, Agartha are out of the game, so we avoided having to fight them, and they avoided fighting us very kindly. My whole plan was to ignore them. They ignored me. Everybody wins except them, who lost, because they've now been kicked out due to their god not having any belief. They believe in the jellyfish now. Their armies are still standing there, but that's going to be solved soon enough, and they're now just independent territory, so we can take them at some point. Another faction kicked out. We're getting somewhere with all this. The yellow main stack is coming back, but we just need to get out of the way, and then we'll be fine. We've also got their capital under siege, as you can see. Now, with my getting out of the way plan, I was going to go down and left, but realised we could actually go down and right and take an extra province this turn. And that's because, well, it looks like it's next to yellow's army and could be attacked. It's not really because of that river going across. We have amphibious units, they probably don't. So I'm going to gamble here that they can't attack us, and therefore it's safe to set up with not my full stack near their full stack, and get an extra region out of the deal. Meanwhile, at the other end of the map, we're doing this again. Looks like it's time for another attack on Red's capital. They've moved away from it. Once they're 2 or 3 turns away with most of the stuff we can see, we just attack again to resume our distraction. It's costing us a few troops each time, but I think it's totally worth it. We've made good progress down here, taken a fair few red castles. There are still red stacks around that we need to run away from, which is what I'm doing right here. But broadly speaking, the net progress over like 10 to 20 turns is good. We still haven't had to fight Red's big field armies somehow. Here is the main attack against Yellow's castle, Yellow's capital that is, and it doesn't go very well actually. I think the reason behind it all is that the enemy's ranged attacks can definitely shoot through the walls. These fire sprites are shooting fire straight through those walls, and then our guys are just standing in the fire because we're stuck. So we take horrendous casualties and eventually get routed. There's also a bunch of insects in the breach there holding us back. Inconvenient. We took major losses, our army's decimated, the enemy army didn't take that much damage, and the stuff it did take in terms of damage will be replenished somewhat. Overall, not what I expected. Big performance from those flame sprites. It seems that things that are magical on the battlefield or have any kind of ranged / area of effect attack are just better than everything else. That seems to be the case so far at least. Bit of a setback there then, but we do still have another army right next to their capital, so the fight's not over yet. And the Agarthan troops have now thankfully just disappeared, so we can have some stuff in this area. Go in to start taking their old territory. I'll have to siege down their massive castle, so it's going to take a while to do that, but it's also going to be quite easy. So now against Yellow, we've gathered together everything else that wasn't my main force, and it now is the main force, so that's going to go for the capital once again. Yellow are in a position where they can go after the Throne of Ascension. I thought maybe that's what they're planning to do. We've got another secondary army building up here. I'm going to have this army go on to defend mode to make sure we don't fight if Yellow does invade. We want to just buy time and take their capital and then go back to fighting their army later. Here's when I finally decided to use that alchemy system that I mentioned in the last part. We can just convert all of my astral pearls to more useful things. Mainly that's water gems and earth gems. These will allow us to summon more units and to summon money, and I can get rid of all of my other gems to make astral pearls to then get more water and earth gems, by clicking the mouse a large number of times. You can hold down keys on the keyboard as well, which makes it go a bit faster in the end. I've got like 5 or 6 mages who somehow are able to do earth magic, so I can then just find them and tell them to start making money for me. Very handy. I was looking through the magic trees here as well. There's another spell somewhere that allows you to make more money per earth gem if you have a higher level in earth magic. I think we could use the empowerment system to make powerful earth mages out of our water mages, and then have them use that spell right there to get us loads of cash. But I didn't bother. Here is a rare, large battle against green. We ended up facing their big stack. Their big stack was fighting red for a long time, but at some point it's ended up fighting us. Don't even know the circumstances, but our army is enough to hold them off here. Our army is very much filled out with trash, but so is theirs, and our core of good units does the business. Off they run. The thing is, that battle could have gone a lot better if their army was just slightly different. Their 2 ice drakes got 56 kills. Yet again, just small, cheap area of effects units seem to be able to do more damage than anything else. A shame. You might be wondering why I haven't got some ice drakes myself after spreading so much ice drake propaganda. Well, actually I do have a couple of them. You can summon them really early on in the game with low-level mages. I think I've got 3 or 4 somewhere. In fact, some of them are in this stack right here, which is currently setting up to once again go for Yellow's capital. It's all a bit scrappy, a mix of real units and stuff that I've hastily thrown together. But yes, there are a few ice drakes in this stack. Now I'm going to be doing the thing I do most of the time and what I'm usually cutting out. That is very slowly consolidating army units together to free up commanders to go back and get some more units and bring them to the front line later. An incredibly tedious process that is absolutely begging for some kind of replenishment system or summoning of units, ability to somehow buy units into an army on the front line and have them automatically show up even if it takes forever, because doing it yourself is annoying. Moving now to the next turn. We are now able to storm the castle again, but the enemy's big stack is next door, and chances are they're coming back here to do something about our siege of their capital. So we have to make a decision. Do we wait it out and try to fight them off, or take the castle really quickly, depending on what happens first in the turn? Or do we just move away? That's the safe option. We could just move to the left and avoid any fight. Well, after thinking about it for an extremely long time, we come to the start of the next turn. We're fighting. I left our troops here and reinforced them, and their stack did come at us, or most of it did, I should say. So here we are, at last, a decisive battle against Yellow. The issue we're going to have in this fight is we, as usual, don't have much ranged potential, so their ranged units will just be shooting us for the whole fight. Because the battle is taking up the full width of the battlefield, it's difficult for us to get around. Looks like a few guys on the edge are starting to break through, and they'll be able to go after the archers. Elsewhere though, our squads are falling back. Looks like we're on the verge of losing, but so are they. Their stuff is routing at the same time as ours. So that was just a bit of a brawl really. The two sides clashed, killed a certain amount of each other, and then left. But we technically win, so the siege is still going. Not that much of a win though overall when you look at the numbers. They lost like 400 troops, pretty decent, almost half of what they have in the area. But we also lost half of our big stack built up to besiege this castle. That means we can't really take the castle. The direst loss was the Meteorite Guards. We lost most of them. Our good melee unit, which is very difficult to mass and can only come from the sea too. So that sucks. We also then had one unit that didn't participate in the fight, which ended up trying to siege the castle, or storm the castle, sorry, according to my prior orders. And they failed, so we lost a little bit more. Quick update on what's happening with Red. We have their capital at the moment. They have 2,000 troops standing outside ready to retake it, and we are running away. Operation Runaway continues to be a runaway success, and we're massing troops there very slowly as well every time we avoid an engagement and just make the enemy waste some time. Now we need to regroup against Yellow and try to finish them off. We still have lots of stuff in this area. It's mainly summoned sea trolls and trash light infantry. That might just be enough though, because we just killed half of Yellow's stuff. Some of it appears to just not be on the map anymore, not quite sure, maybe they've gone into castles, or maybe their lack of money is finally getting to them. Overall, simply overwhelming them with our remaining trash is a very valid option. what happens is most of the yellow stuff comes to attack our siege at their capital again. So here we go, another big decisive field battle. Similar to the last one, we're just being pounded by fire arrows or something like that all the time. The issue we have this time is just a lack of stuff that's not our squid troops. There's not much out front, and in the general brawl, we end up losing out, and now the squids are in trouble. They rout, and we have lost the battle. The enemy have now recaptured their capital. We took a chunk out of them along the way, but they took a bigger chunk out of us. It's a bad trade, but probably we still have the numerical advantage. Also in the same turn, I did this massive bum rush against one of their castles to the north, one of their few remaining things that they have. All I need to do is wait for our guys to hack their way in, but we are severely delayed by a few units that get in the way and don't die. Those water things, the water elementals, magical units, I guess, don't take much damage to our Trash's attacks. So it takes us an extremely long time to get inside, by which point we've run out of magic on our squids, we've taken a pounding from various things, and units at the back are retreating without even going inside the castle. So that bodes poorly. Ultimately everything retreats and we lose that battle, losing hundreds of troops along the way. Looks like Yellow's really fighting back hard towards the end here. But they're still running out of stuff. They've got 2 under siege castles and just their capital region. All I'm going to do is regroup everything that's in all directions from their capital and send them to attack all at once to try and just overwhelm them before they start re-recruiting anything. So this is the stack of everything that happened to be nearby. Quite a lot of stuff actually, since some reinforcements were coming in. A massive rush of trolls goes forward. The enemy now don't have that much stuff left, since they had to take casualties defeating us recently, and this time we sweep them off the field. So with that army dead, their capital is now severely under siege. There's some news from Red, an absolutely gigantic army is taking back their capital. Luckily we weren't there to be defeated by them, so that's all fine. We're also making some slow progress against Green. A lot of their castles took a very long time to siege down, because of the tiny supply limit in their provinces, so I only had a few units there actually doing the sieging. Well, Yellow now appear to be in huge trouble. 3 under siege castles, and we have our big blob at their capital, which we can hopefully mindlessly throw at each castle to make sure we take them eventually. This is surely the end of Yellow. Against Red, we're doing some more dancing up here. They still have absolutely tons of stuff. We've weakened them. We've taken quite a few of their castles very slowly over the turns. Haven't really been talking about it, but some slow progress has been made just because they've been distracted and haven't stopped us now and again. But we're successfully avoiding battle, although this move here was asking for trouble. I decided to move to the northeast with this block, just moving away from most of their stuff, but still in range of some of it. I had probably decided that we'd win the battle or something. The real thing to worry about is the ginormous stack up here. We've got all these troops just hiding in our castle next door. If they put me to siege, then I'll just wait and try to reinforce them. Now a surprise battle. It's Purple, the other purple faction, Pythia I think they were called. They suddenly attack us. This is towards the north of our Yellow War Theatre. I think their god was on the field there, some strange looking unit. Well, now we have to deal with Purple. They had kindly just been ignoring me as I'd been ignoring them, like with Agatha. Maybe they decided to actually get involved. Inconvenient because we're not in position to deal with that. Here, though, is the assault on Yellow's capital. Similar to the last one, we're just stuck in the door, being hit by all kinds of magic and archer attacks. Well, this time it turns out we just had enough number to smash our way through and get inside, and our morale is high enough that only some of our units are retreating, so that's good enough for me. We'll take out all the stuff that's throwing magic, and that should be the end of that. Still a battle with enormous casualties for us, not ideal. But at this stage, so late in our war with Yellow, it doesn't really matter for them. We lost, well, nearly half of our attacking army there, so our stacks certainly be cut down to size. Hopefully there's not very much in the other castles, so we can go on to take them. And yes, Yellow's army has been killed. A terrible trade. But now Yellow probably can't re-recruit anything. We also killed their god, apparently, didn't realise that in that battle. This is almost the end for Yellow. They're still technically alive, but by next turn or a couple of turns in the future, that's probably not going to be the case anymore. We will also have to deal though with the new Purple faction threat, who have territory going across the continent. As mentioned, we're not in position to really fight with them, but they also don't have very much, so while they can steal some of our undefended territory if they want, once we deal with Yellow and turn our attention to Purple, we'll be able to overwhelm them, and I can recruit new things on their border starting now to make that easier in the future. And of course with red, well, if they can't kill us, then they can't win. It's even getting to the point now when we probably could coalesce loads of our stuff together and actually contest their gigantic stacks. Maybe not quite actually, because they are pretty gigantic. Well, we're pretty strong. We certainly have economic strength on our side now that we have tons of land down here, nice valuable territories. If we take down purple, we'll definitely be a match for red. I predict that there will be one more part of this series and we'll finally see something that you could describe as victory after all these years. Thanks for watching this OVD gameplay commentary. Check out the playlists on my channel for more.